And events scheduled for this weekend at the American Bank Center have now been canceled due to health concerns. The City of Corpus Christi announcing that events there will actually be canceled or rescheduled until March 22nd. It was earlier today the North American Hockey League announced that the rest of their season has now been put on hold, meaning no Corpus Christi Ice Race game at the American Bank Center this weekend, and of course while the season remains on hold. Also originally scheduled for this weekend was The Office, a musical parody, but that is now canceled. Tickets for both events are refundable. Just look for this story on our website. Along with the American Bank Center, city officials also announcing today the closure of Whataburger Field from tomorrow, March 13th through March 22nd. This means upcoming events like the Food Truck Festival, Pops in the Park, and several high school baseball games will have either been canceled or rescheduled. To see a full list of events impacted by closures, again, visit our website.